The gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we all know, Congress and President Biden are hard at work to pass the Build Back Better Act to take bold, aggressive, and long overdue action on climate change. But many of the witnesses today vigorously oppose key climate provisions in the Build Back Better Act. I find that offensive, being from ground zero in the state of Florida, where climate change and its impact is not a someday thing, it's a right now thing. And according to Influence Map, for example, BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, and Chevron collectively spend more than $150 million every year on lobbying and policy influence activities. But they do this to protect their trillions of dollars in revenues. Ms. Clark, my first question is for you. How much has the Chamber of Commerce spent to defeat the Build Back Better Act?
Sorry, I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Well, give me a ballpark.
I really couldn't.
You have no idea how much the Chamber of Commerce has spent on lobbying targeted at the Build Back Better Act?
No, I don't.
You're not doing your job very well if you don't know that answer, but I'll just give you an idea. Just in September, the Chamber launched a 6-figure ad campaign just to pressure House Democrats to try to vote down the reconciliation package. And, you know, for a while, the Chamber actually participated in House GOP leadership strategy calls to defeat the reconciliation package. Perhaps you weren't aware of that either, but that's something that actually happened. The Chamber released a statement earlier this month that said that the Chamber is continuing and expanding its efforts to defeat the reconciliation bill and opposes efforts to link the infrastructure bill to the reconciliation bill. That's just grossly irresponsible, and what you should be doing is working towards trying to find compromise, not just spending millions of dollars to defeat something and work against our progress on climate change, on addressing the climate change issue. Mr. Summers, what about the American Petroleum Institute? What did API spend to defeat the Build Back Better Act?
Congresswoman, we've worked to influence the process, particularly on issues that would affect oil and gas.
Reclaiming my time, my question is, to the tune of how much money?
Congresswoman, I don't have those numbers at my fingertips.
Yeah, I assumed you would answer that. You would answer that way. But let me just illuminate things for folks listening to this. API used its front group, Energy Citizens, to flood Facebook with hundreds of ads in 140 congressional districts aimed at in opposition to the reconciliation package. Here's a bewildering example of hypocrisy. The Build Back Better Act contains provisions to tackle, for example, methane pollution from oil and natural gas production, which API claims to support the reduction of methane emissions. Yet API and its front group, Energy Citizens, have carried out a 7-figure TV and internet ad campaign to defeat the Build Back Better methane emissions fee. Mr. Summers, how do you reconcile your group's claims to support reducing methane emissions with your opposition to Build Back Better provisions that address methane emissions?
Thank you for your question, Congresswoman. In fact, the American Petroleum Institute supports the federal regulation of methane for both new and existing sources. We expect the new regulation to come out soon from the Biden administration, and we've been working with them on making sure that that regulation makes sense and that it's reducing methane emissions over time.
Reclaiming my time.
This industry,
I'm sorry, reclaiming my time, except you're opposing the reduction policies on methane emissions in the Build Back Better Act, which is the proposal of the Biden administration. So you're either lying about your support for reducing methane emissions, or you're working against yourself, which makes no sense and certainly isn't money well spent by your institution.
Respectfully, Congresswoman.
No, the time is mine. Thank you. Mr. Woods, your company is a member of API, for example, and API actively lobbies to crush good climate policies, as I've just illuminated. Your own former senior director of federal relations admitted you use groups like API to take the tough questions and be a, quote, whipping boy during congressional hearings. How can you tell us with a straight face that you're part of the solution to climate change when you're part of the lobbying effort to stifle policies to fight climate change?
Well, as I said shortly after that interview was released, that That characterization offered up was incorrect and did not reflect the position that our company's taken or the philosophy that we take.
Yeah, Mr. Woods, you can say what you want about climate change, but words matter, actions matter more. And this hearing illustrates the problems we face. Industry players talk out of both sides of their mouths. Big Oil may talk about climate change and emission reductions and put shiny, polished, green-colored ads on TV, telling Americans they're part of the solution. But when President Biden and congressional Democrats try to advance solutions to actually fight the climate crisis, the fossil fuel industry reaches into its deep pockets to kill these common sense solutions. You're no better than big tobacco in the 90s. I yield back the balance of my time.